Good morning. Happy Monday. Hope everybody enjoyed their weekend. This is the Pitchlight Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats. I'm here with Donald and Rob. And what's going on to everybody in the chat? The whole family is here. So let's celebrate the fact that Juan Soto just continues to deliver this spring. And he has really risen above everybody else when it comes to the consistency, of the quote-unquote superstars of the team. Soto has been the guy that's been delivering. Rizzo's had a good spring. No shade on anybody else, but Soto is just becoming that guy. He looks like we have found the missing piece that this offense has been looking for. So when you're looking at the production for Juan Soto, it leaves no doubt with his track record, with his resume, that this is something that can easily carry over into the regular season, because he has the numbers to back it up. This is really, he's been extremely impressive. I expected kind of like one of those superstar springs where you see, glimpses here and there of what they're able to do. But he's just been so consistent at it. It's unbelievable to watch.
Facts on facts. Completely agree. He's been incredible. I mean, I knew that we were going to see a really special player going into spring, but I have to be honest, this has even exceeded my expectations. The quality of at-bats are ridiculous, man. It's like perfection. He doesn't miss anything. Like another absolute monster shot into the stratosphere yesterday. He's unfazed by anything. He looks, and what's great is he just has so much fun doing it. He just has a big smile on his face while he's ripping 500 feet in monster shots. And he's just like, he's just too cool for school. He's exceeded my expectations. And I mean, he's a bad man. He is a bad man. You know what I mean? It's just like when he walks onto the plate, you have to watch this. Like, this is like blockbuster stuff. He's just a bad man. He carries that energy about him that, I mean, I haven't seen such an effect on a team as big as what Soto's brought in this very short period of time. I keep saying it, but it's just so noticeable. He just brings us energy. There's just this vibe about him. Everyone seems to be more excited, more energetic. They're more locked in. Some of it is, of course, the organizational expectations because they were so embarrassed by last year. There's an element of that. There's an element of the fact that there's veterans that have something to prove. Like you've got Rizzo, stuff like that, Stanton. There is an element of that. There's an element of Aaron Judge. This is his first proper year as captain, so he's kind of he's taking a bigger role in terms of captaincy. With his first full off season and to get to know everybody and get them all ready to go for the year. So there's an element of that too. But Stanton has just brought an even bigger energy, and it just feels like it's all kind of come into place with him here. That's why we need to change our organizational philosophy and look to engage with him and his agent ASAP and see where they're at with the numbers, and let's see if we can come to some kind of agreement before the end of the season, because this dude's unbelievable. If he asks for 12 to 14 years, I mean, I'm sorry. Or are we going to say no to that? No. You know what I mean? So the money's going to be there. Go and get it. Let's get this thing done, because he is incredible. I've never seen anything quite like it.
Rob, how do you feel about Soto this spring? We'll continue.
He's really good. He's really, really good. I don't know what else to say that hasn't been said yet.
Yeah.
Like, how else do we put it? This is a generational player. He's killing it, but it's more of the at bats, not the results. It's just the way he goes about it at the plate. That's what we need. Guy that's going to work the counts full every time, basically. Even when he's down 0-2, it doesn't matter. Eventually he's going to take another 3 pitches and the count will be full. And more than likely he's going to work a walk, or he's going to get on base somehow or hit a homer. Like, he's unbelievable. And knowing that's going to be hitting in front of Aaron Judge is going to be it's going to be fun, and I can't wait. I'm ready for the season now. I don't want to see any more of this spring training shit. I just want regular season baseball.
Yeah, no, it's one of these I'm with you. I'm so ready for the season. I'm done with the practices, the exhibitions. Let's just get this shit rolling now, right? Let's strike while the iron's hot. And Soto is just red hot. It's like I said, this is that missing piece he's the missing link to the success of this organization. And it's going to take the whole team being successful to make everything work. You can't rely on just one player. They've tried that with Judge. They tried that with so many other players, in the past where, well, we have this guy. So as long as you put some pieces around them, they'll find success. And it doesn't work that way. You have a whole tribe that can just destroy everything. You have Soto, you have Judge, you have Rizzo, you have Stanton, you have Torres, you have LeMahieu. You have Volpe coming into his own. Austin Wells has actually had a very underrated, unmentioned spring. He's had some good appearances behind the plate and at the plate. So everything seems to just be coming into its own, and it's just the optimism. There's no way you could be pessimistic about this. You can try, but you can't.
I think we should say hello to everybody in the chat. What do you think? Early roll call for our people?
I think we do for a roll call.
Let's get an early roll call in here for everyone that's been so loyal to get up first thing in the morning. Let's do it. What we got here. Jones Sotosico FJ. I like foreplay. I don't want to know about that. Definitely ready. Enough foreplay. Come on. All right. It's a Monday morning here. This is a family show. Let's move off the foreplay. We got Iron Mike Perez here. Totally agree with Donnie's comment here. Give Soto a blank check. Donnie Baseball with the comment. Salute to you. We go Will Star. What up, Will Star? How are you? 01. What is happening? We got Dev Finch. What is up, Dev Finch? How are you? We got NFE. My guy. Everybody sub up to NFE. Watch his live streams. They're fantastic. We got Brad, always loyal in the chat. Sup, Brad? What are we doing here? Stevie B, the loyal Stevie B. We'd love to have our loyal crew here. First thing on the Monday morning, we got Frederick. We got Frederick. Have to close fully to bring up YouTube for complete readouts. Okay, you go do that. We have who we got here. I think we got everybody here. We got Steve B, as I say. Jonathan, salute Jonathan. Everybody else in the chat, come and say hello. We will give you a shout out. Got FL Diver. We got salute to everybody in the chat. Let's go, guys.
We are 5 subs away from 600, and we have no doubt in our minds that we will, with your help, get there by opening day. It's going to happen. And, we have some, like I said, I keep saying, we have things in the works. We're waiting to get to that point. So with that being said, let's get on to some more Yankees talk. And one thing that needs to, I think needs a little bit of discussion is how much pressure is not on the manager with this type of roster. We always talk about how the manager has pressure to make sure that he utilizes his stars properly. I think that the way that he's managed getting guys work, getting some of the younger guys into the mix in the middle of games, it was the later innings this spring. I actually think Boone, with the coaching staff, have actually done a really good job making sure that everybody's getting work in and staying loose. I don't know if you guys are seeing the same thing or feel the same way. Let me know what you guys think. But I think that Boone has actually managed these lineups pretty well, making sure that he's mixing and matching. And then we're going to get in, later on, we'll get into Trevino's return because he came like a freaking lightning rod yesterday. So, how do you feel about how Boone has managed the playing time this spring?
I think he's been fine. It's a lot easier to do this in spring training, obviously, because your roster's like 100 players. Yes. So, the thing that people are going to be talking about today is Judge because he's out of both games. So there's a little bit of concern there. Are they lying to us about yesterday? They took him out after 2 at-bats, and they're like, oh, that was always the plan, but he's not playing today. He's the only regular that's not playing today. So let's keep an eye on that. Hopefully there's nothing too serious, but we know never to trust the Yankees when it comes to injury stuff. But other than that, I think it's been fine. We already know who's going to be on the roster, and it's just really a couple of spots that are trying to figure it out with. So those guys that are in contention for those spots are getting the majority of the playing time. So like guys like Birdie and Poteet, these bullpen arms, some of the catchers that are competing out there as well. But we know for the most part who's going to be on the team, and it's just getting those guys regular at-bats, regular innings, and people that could be brought up at some point of the season, guys like Van Meter and Jeter Downs, they're getting a lot more playing time. So I think he's done fine, but again, it's a lot easier to manage things in spring training than it is when you get to the start of the season, because we've seen him, usually the spring goes just about as good as it can go when it comes to playing time. And then when he gets to the regular season and the roster's dwindled down to 26, he seems to have a tough time getting players in at the right time or whatever it may be. So I want to see more how he does when it comes to March and April or end of March, April, May, June, regular season, of course. But, he's always been a good spring training manager. There's that.
How can you judge managing in spring training? Like, how do you differentiate between one style to another? I mean, I don't even know how you judge that. If you want me to be extra critical, I could say that there's been a couple of brain farts that we've seen, and it wasn't just Ward Vet. There was a couple of infield brain farts as well, and it all seems to happen while Aaron Boone is doing these interviews with Yes. So maybe they should cut out these managerial interviews because my guy is distracted, and there's all shit that usually happens whenever he talks. So that might be maybe a good sign that Yes should maybe cut down on these goddamn inning-long interviews of the manager. We get it. I don't think we need a daily update from Aaron Boone for an entire inning. Like, we get it. Things are looking good, but like I think maybe once a week I think is more than enough. I don't know about you. I think no more than maybe twice a week get a little update from Aaron Boone. But apart from that, I don't think we need inning-long Yes Network updates. But I don't know how you judge a manager in spring. I mean, it is what it is. He has to get everybody involved. He's been doing a fine job. I'm not seeing any issues there. I see a lot more accountability. I like when he talks as opposed to it was like before it was more like nails on a chalkboard whenever he talked. I'm like, oh my God. But now he just seems like a pretty cool dude and he's pretty locked in. So I'm all right with that. So if you want that, then yeah, I'll give you that. But I have been seeing some brain farts. I don't know. I mean, you can't overlook that.
Yeah, I think, I think the one thing that we've seen that's not been in his favor is the, what's going on with Judge. And yeah, it's two, he had the 2 strikeouts yesterday. And like Rob said, he's not in the lineup. Even the lineup today, we're going to pull the lineups up in a little bit. I was hoping to see more of that 3-headed monster with Judge, Soto and Stanton in the lineup together, just to give us more of a taste of how it's going to work. Try to get an idea of how pitching staffs are going to work around those 3, especially if you have somebody like Rizzo or Torres as that 4th player. In the 4th guy coming up in that lineup. That's something I would like to see more, but
we have been seeing that. We saw that yesterday.
I want to see more of it. That's what I'm saying. I want to see them together more consistently as we get closer to opening day. I want them to have that. I want to see if they're actually putting the fear into the pitching, not just 1 or 2 at bats and then they don't have to worry about them anymore. You know what I mean? Am I saying it right?
Well, Tats, there seems to be an echo. Could you mute your mic? Yeah. Okay. Regarding your point, I mean, as I say, we're only just narrowing down our team kind of now. This is usually the point now where you'll start to see our regular guys get slightly more at bats as we get later on in spring. I mean, obviously, in the first couple of week or so, you're obviously going to see more of like the Spencer Jones and our minor league guys. Now you're going to start seeing a little bit more of a regular lineup, and it has been fairly consistent. I mean, I think what we're seeing the last like 2 or 3 games is like you're going to see that regular 7. I think that's pretty much how it's going to be. I think Stanton's going to be in the 6 hole, and I think Verdugo's going to be in the 7. You got Torres in the 5, Rizzo in the 4, and I think it's pretty much set that way, and it looks fine. So I'm not quite sure what your point is with that, Uncle T. I think that's pretty much this is exactly how I'd expect it to be, and I think as we get on later in spring, we'll see even more of it. It's just all about the quality of that. I'm not really concerned. I'm not really concerned about what it is right now.
No, and look, your concerns might, are going to be different from what I wanted. I'm just saying at this point in the spring, I was hoping to see that, them really just piggyback off each other a little more consistently during games. That's all I'm saying. But I understand how it works. I'm not going back on what I said last week when I said, look, this is just the way the spring. This is the way the spring goes. There's nothing we can do about it. This is the way that managers manage. Players get a couple of at bats and they sit down. I expected to see more. I just expected to see more consistency with the 3 of them in a lineup together. With or the 4, the 1 through 5. I expected to see a little more consistency to go into it, and that's all I was trying to allude to.
No, that's fair. I think maybe with like the last week, you'll probably see it. Assuming everything's okay with Judge, we'll probably see that lineup maybe twice down the final week of the spring. You'll probably see them get 2 at bats, maybe 3 at bats each, and they'll pull them. But we already know, like, we're going to see that plenty during the regular season. Like, it's going to be Soto, Judge, Rizzo, Torres, Stanton, and that's just deadly. And if we get anything productive out of LeMahieu at the top of the order, it's going to be even better. But I get it. Like the 3-headed monster there, or the 4-headed monster, if you want to put Rizzo in there, you want to see that one after the next as much as possible. But hey, Stanton looked a lot better yesterday. He caught up to a couple of fastballs, which is definitely the thing you want to see. I'm not concerned about him with breaking balls. At this point, we all know Stanton's weakness is he can't hit the breaking pitch. More likely, he's going to swing and miss at it. But the fact that he couldn't hit the fastball last year was a concern. Much better approach yesterday. That 110 off the bat, that's a good sign. If that exit velo is there, then Stanton's going to hit he's going to hit a lot out of the ballpark, and that's what we need from him. So as long as that exit velocity is up, I'm not concerned about Giancarlo Stanton. And it was very nice to see him hit a couple of fastballs, but I do agree with Joan. He needs to start hitting some better pitching before we really start to believe that he's back. It was definitely a good first step after what's been a rough spring, but certainly a good sign. Same thing for Oswaldo. Hit a couple of really good shots yesterday. So, and the puppy's here. So we got a couple of good signs coming out of yesterday's game. 2 bats that we really need to see get going, Stanton and Cabrera, because I think Cabrera is going to make this team simply because we don't have anybody else that can do what he does. So it's nice to see his bat hopefully coming around.
I think Uncle T's brought out our new Pinstripe Chronicles mascot. I think she's officially our Pinstripe Chronicle mascot. She is a cutie. She is.
I don't think he realizes he's still muted.
Well, on that note, I'm happy to see Big G finally square up on some fastballs. It was so important because I've been nonplussed by his spring to this point. But He looks better. He's moving better. Things are trending in the right direction. Very happy to see Big G hit that fastball, start getting some good contact. It was so important to see that. He looks a little bit more at peace with how things are going. As I say, one of the keys to this spring was I needed to see Stanton start squaring up to that fastball. That's important. We are starting to see that. I wanted to see DJ LeMahieu start looking better, and we're starting to see that too. He's looking much better. His at-bat quality has been very, very good. And I needed to see Anthony Rizzo. I needed to see him have a solid spring after the concussion, and he has certainly done that. So, the trends that we're seeing offensively, I'm loving. I'm loving the quality of at bats. I think the new batting coach has instilled a good philosophy. I'm seeing a lot more contact. I've been much happier with that. I think the at bat quality has been so good. I do agree with Donnie here. Donnie Baseball is my new name for Donnie. Rousen has helped everyone. I agree. I think he has. I think that there's a good philosophy here. We're certainly making much more contact, much better swings, and much less swing and misses. So that's all been very, very good. So offensively, I have absolutely no issues. Pitching wise, I think we can all be fair and say I've been nonplussed. I think we can admittedly say I've been nonplussed with the pitching, and the pitching have had a week's head start on our offense, and the offense is already looking like it's ready to go. And we've got a lot of questions to ask around this pitching. We're giving up a lot of runs, and there's a lot of guys who we're going to need that haven't looked good so far in spring. So just calling a spade, but offensively, no issues. And I agree with Tats here. I think Boone's done a very, very good job with the way the offense is going. I think there's just a really good camaraderie, good chemistry, good energy. So if that's something that I think you can tell, because I've seen previous springs where we look like we're the Walking Dead out there, and it looks like that they're auditioning for the cast of The Last of Us. But in this year, there seems to be a new energy, new vibe, and I'm digging it. So I think Aaron Boone has a lot to do with that. So I agree with Uncle T, and so does his mascot.
No, the pitching is a little bit of a concern. But the reason I'm not really getting too down on the pitching is hitters. It's not like pitchers aren't the first ones to come to camp anymore. Everybody's starting camp at the same time, even though it's when pitchers and catchers report. They should just cut out the pitchers and catchers and just say, teams were reporting this week, and getting ready for spring. Because you have these, the hitters are working all year round, pitchers are working all year round. But when it comes to, I think you're seeing the advancements of the offense in the game where they're catching up to everything a lot quicker. You're not seeing them working on their, trying to catch up on their timing. It's just they're automatically catching up to it, just like with high velocity guys. It used to be it used to be rare to see triple digits on the radar gun. Now it's all the time. So there's no surprise anymore when a pitcher hits, the triple digits.
Yeah, well, it still doesn't help that 2 or at least 3 of our 5 projected starters have gotten lit up. I'm not concerned about Rodon because I just need him healthy. If he's healthy, I think he's going to be okay. Schmidt yesterday, he was fine his first 2 outings, but yesterday that first inning was bad. He's probably the one I'm concerned about the most, simply because I don't know how he's going to back up last year. He threw a lot of innings. He wasn't great for the majority of the season. And there's still that issue that I always bring up that he just cannot get lefties out. So I'm not very sold on Schmidt. I like him. I just don't know if he's the answer long term. And then there's Nestor Cortez, who just hasn't looked good. I mean, even in the game where he went 4 innings and gave up a run, he was getting tattooed a lot. There was some hard contact, and that's always concerning. So how does that translate to a regular season game? If he's getting tattooed like this in the spring, does that mean he's going to be able to turn around the regular season? I don't really know. I hope he does. I like Nestor. I want Nestor to be good because he was great for us 2 years in a row. He saved our season in 2021 because the rotation was struggling, and he was outstanding in 2022. He was our best pitcher that year. So I know there's something in there, but I'm just a little concerned if that shoulder is bugging him more than he's saying or more than he even might know at this point. Is he more of a long relief guy? I didn't want to believe that early in the offseason. I was saying, no, I think he's still a starter, but maybe the signs are starting to show themselves a little bit. He could be more of a long relief guy. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to still explore the pitching market. If the trade is there a trade in the works, do they go after a free agent? Who knows at this point? But we'll have to wait and see how the final few outings for these guys go. But yeah, aside from Stroman, I mean, we've only seen Cole throw one game, so we really can't put him in this conversation. But we know who Garrett Cole is. Aside from Stroman, the starters haven't really looked that good. We're going to see more Will Warren today, so that's a good sign. But yeah, not Luis Heel hasn't looked great. He had his first outing was okay, but his last outing was So, I mean, there is some concern there. When it comes to pitching, you look at numbers a little bit more than you look at for hitters. And for guys that are trying to prove a point or make a team, the numbers are going to be everything. So a guy like Poteet, he's been fantastic.
Yep.
Luke Weaver got lit up, but he's not going anywhere. So guys that are trying to make the team, like Los Santos was my guy all offseason. He's been bad. I hope he can turn it around the rest of the way through. But at this point, I think he's down on the ladder. I think it's Birdie and Poteet, and then maybe a guy like Santana could push his way onto the roster. But that's really it. But I'm concerned about this rotation right now a little bit. I'm not going to start jumping off the building or anything and say the season's over. But I'm a little concerned that the longevity of this rotation is questionable. I'll say that. I'll leave it at that. It's questionable.
That's where I'm at too, man. I don't want to look too deeply in the spring. It's important not to look too deeply in the spring, but there are legitimate things to be concerned about because there was a big question mark about our rotation going into this year. And there's certain guys that need to prove themselves. One of them being Nestor Cortez. So yes, I'm going to pay more attention to his ERA than say Garrett Cole's. There's certain guys that can get away with a certain start just focusing on an off-speed pitch that maybe they're only using 1 or 2% of the time, but they want to test it out to see how it is going into the regular season. There's certain guys. That's Mike, my mute, please. Mike, your mute. Okay.
Mute the mic.
So that's. Thank you. Right. Okay. So, where was I? I apologize for that. Where I was there's certain guys that can get away with that. Okay. So there's certain guys like Garrett Cole, for instance, maybe even Rodon. They can just focus on their off-speed stuff because we know where we're going to be with those guys. But there's certain guys, and one of them being Nestor Cortez, where his numbers are kind of important. His where we're at with him is kind of important. And I have not been impressed with him at all. I'll be honest. I wasn't impressed with him in his first start. There was a lot of loud hits, but he got away with it because he made the right pitch at the end. So fair enough. But the second start, I was even more concerned because he was starting to leave cutters over the middle of the plate. One of them went like right out of the freaking downtown Tampa. So that was another concern of mine too. So then we get into this most recent start, and he was getting lit up like a bonfire. I've been legitimately concerned about him. I've not been happy with his stuff. I think his stuff looks bad. I don't think his location's good. There's a lot of stuff that I'm concerned about with Nestor Cortez. As for Clark Schmidt, his location yesterday was horrible. Horrible. These are fastballs left right over the middle of the plate, and he doesn't have a great fastball. There's not any movement to it. It's pretty straight. It's pretty routine. It needs to be located perfectly. And it wasn't located well. A lot of them went over the middle of the plate. So a lot of it was batting practice pitches. So, you know what? I think we'll be fine with Schmidt, but he doesn't have incredible stuff. He doesn't have mind-blowing stuff that can get away with kind of routine fastballs. So, if you want to be concerned about Schmidt, you're certainly welcome to. Rodon, I'm with Rob. I'm not overly concerned because as long as he's healthy and his velo's there, we're going to be fine. His velo was right there at the start. It wasn't great the last start. It was a couple mile an hour slower. However, he did say afterwards that was a plan because he was focusing on his all-speed stuff. So that's fine with me. Okay, so not overly worried about Rodon, but then, Marcus Stroman has been the only one in the rotation who's pitched beautifully so far. Garrett Cole, not an issue. We know what we got here. We got Picasso. No issue. He can do what he wants. We're going to be fine. So that leaves one definite spot, I think, that needs to be upgraded. There's 2 arms sitting in free agency, and we have a bunch of trade options. I really hope that Cashman works the phones because we're going to need another starter. If we want to be a World Series contender, I'm guaranteeing you one thing: the starting 5 isn't going to win us a World Series. We need another arm.
Well, yeah,
if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah, the free agent market is always an option. The trade is an option, but there's also the internal options. And this is the time, and it was mentioned in the chat, for Warren to step up. And he is going to be taking the ball today, so we're going to keep an eye on that start as well. And with that, let's pull up the first game's lineup, and just, let's see how it's looking, because we will have Warren with the offense behind him with, LeMahieu leading off, Verdugo, he's another one that's had a pretty decent spring, not phenomenal, but decent. Rizzo, you see in Stanton, in the cleanup spot, Grisham, Austin Wells, Kevin Smith, Gonzalez, Jahmai Jones. Not the sexiest lineup, but you're seeing, at least we're going to see some of the regulars today get their shot. But yeah, this is the time for Will Warren to kind of step up and show what he's got.
Yeah, but I also don't think they want to. I mean, unless he's absolutely mind-blowing the rest of the way through, he's not going against regulars for Baltimore. I know Jackson Holliday's playing, but he's not going to be on the team opening day. If he has a great start, then he is going to put himself in the conversation. I just think they're going to try to manipulate his service time to get him an extra year. I don't think they're going to rush him because he's on the 40-man. So who are they taking off? Then there's the question of, do they want him right now? And then what do you do with Schmidt or Cortez? Is Cortez hurt? Does he go on the IL? If that's the case, then maybe you do that. Peraza could be put on the 60-day IL, actually, because he's going to be out for like 2 months, so they could do that. I just don't know what they're going to do. I don't think he's making the team. Beater is more likely to make the team and be that guy that could take over the number 5 spot, or they could still go and sign somebody. I don't care what people's opinion is about Blake Snell right now. There's no doubt in my mind he's better than what we're seeing from Cortez and Schmidt. I'm still going to sing that song. And yeah, I saw the stuff about Cabrera. Believe me, I know he got pulled from yesterday's game with an injury and I was heartbroken, but the trade stuff has gone. It would have happened by now. I don't think they're making a trade. Donald brought it up the other day. Cashman himself said it. The market is incredibly slow this time of year. I don't know if Cleveland wants to move Bieber because that Central is wide open. The Guardians could easily win that division. That division stinks. Aside from Kansas City and Minnesota, there's really no other competition. So Cleveland could have a solid year. And they almost won the division last year. So I mean, that Central's wide open. I think, look, he's still sitting there. Go get Blake Snell. Just go do it already. Maybe I know he put that thing on Instagram yesterday with the eyes open emoji. Everyone starts to think he's going to sign somewhere. Maybe now he'll get signed the next couple of days and the final will be over. But I still think that's the best way to go is just add somebody in free agency, whether it's Snell, Montgomery. I'll even take Clevenger at this point. I think they need another arm. That's a major league proven arm. It's all in. You have to have as much ammo as possible before you start saying, let's throw Warren into the fire. I want to see Will Warren this year. I do. Don't get me wrong. And he will be here this year, but I don't think they're going to do that just yet. There's ways you can manipulate a service time, and we know how much that extra year, especially for a pitcher, can mean to a team. So I think if anyone makes it from the young kids, it'll be Beater, and he could push his way onto the team, but I still think they should add another arm in free agency.
I think that if Will Warren was a serious rotation candidate, we would see a lot more of him this spring than we have. And this is a split team we got today, split squad today. So like, I'm not going to look too deeply in him getting a start. I'm pretty sure if he was a serious contender for Nestor Cortez's spot, we would see him a lot more than we have done. So I'm not going to look too deeply in him starting today. I hope we see more of him, but I think there's every chance that he's going to be starting in AAA, and which case there's still a spot. There's nobody in the bottom half of our rotation that should be an automatic lock all the way through the rest of the year. And that includes Clark Schmidt. I'm completely with Rob here. You know what? I've not been that impressed with the way Blake Snell has handled this offseason. And I certainly don't like all these Instagram little things like the eye emojis. Like, come on, bro. Just if you're gonna sign somewhere, just sign. You're not LeBron James. You know what I mean? You don't need to. You don't need to do a big announcement. You know what I mean? Like, you ain't LeBron. You ain't gonna march on like the Miami Heat did when they had their big stars signed and they all marched around like it was a WWE event. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, if you're gonna sign somewhere, just sign. If you're gonna go to the Angels, freaking go there. But you know, there's Jordan Montgomery sitting there. There has to be somebody that we can bring in here, on a short-term basis that could improve this team, because I'm seeing some issues here with our pitching. And it's not just because it's spring. There's legitimate issues about location, quality of pitches. I think they're all real. And as I say, you might be able to get 4 or 5 solid innings out of the bottom part of our rotation. But there's some question marks about our bullpen too. We don't have very many absolute locks. There's a couple of guys that are very much fighting to get their spot. And I think they will, but you don't want to overuse our bullpen. You don't want to make it to a case where we did last year, where our bullpen was burnt out by June. And it was completely fried by June, because these guys were having to basically carry our bottom half of our rotation all last year, because they were coming in and having to pitch 4 innings every single day, basically 3 times a week, 4 times a week, apart from Garrett Cole stars. That's not sustainable. And I think you're going to see that again this time, because you don't want to see Nestor Cortez any more than 4 innings. I sure as hell don't. And Clark Schmidt, he's a 5-inning pitcher. So I don't want to see 4 innings out of our bullpen every single day. It's going to be I don't want to sound like I'm negative, because there's so much things to be positive about, but I think that if, considering we have very much a team that's ready to win right now, and this offense is ready to win right now, baby. It's a World Series winning team in terms of offense, but we need our pitching to be kind of there. And so I think that we do need to add another starter just to make it me absolutely assured. I don't know what's available, though, because as Rob and I have pointed out, it's a very slow period right now. And another thing, don't forget, because of the extended teams that can make the playoff, there's more teams that can make the playoffs this year. You can make the playoffs if you win like 83, 84 games, possibly. You know, you can make the wild card, depending on how things go, in which case that means there's going to be more teams that are competing. So less teams are going to be wanting to get rid of their best arms right this second. So as we're looking at Cleveland, they could back their way into a wild card spot, maybe the last wild card spot, and so maybe they don't want to give up a Bieber. So do you see what I'm saying, guys? With that, like there'd be less inclination to make a deal right now, because they want to see if they've got a chance of maybe making a bottom wild card run, and that was why there's not that many options available at the deadline last year. So you have to bear these things in mind now. That's why you want to do your business in the off season rather than waiting till spring, mid-season.
No, that might be why you're seeing teams with such high asking prices for their players. That might be why Cease's, the White Sox, were scouting out their play, or putting their players on the market at such a high price. Look, if you want us to take ourselves out of contention before the season starts and in a wide open division, it's going to cost you. You know, Cleveland could be looking at it the same way. So that's the other lens to look at. You know, and I know you didn't want to put a negative on the whole thing with Cortez. Maybe the positive is maybe Cortez turns into that Michael King, Chad Green type pitcher that we don't have on the roster right now that can give you the spot start and give you a couple of innings to bridge into the back end of the bullpen.
I don't see it.
Maybe a long relief guy at this point. But again, a lot can change. He can come out in his next start and be lights out and be like, oh, there's Nasty Nestor again. So, I mean, I'm not going to say because of 2 starts in the spring that I'm giving up on him, but I've been saying this the entire time that they could use another starter. And it's nothing against Clark Schmidt and Nestor Cortez. I just want this team to be good and ready to go. That's why I wanted Dylan Cease or I want Blake Snell. And I don't think Chicago is even remotely close to those other teams. They should be trading everybody that they can get something for. They should blow the whole organization up and start from scratch because that White Sox team's a joke. But the fact that they haven't traded Dylan Cease yet is a travesty, but maybe they'll do it at the deadline. I don't see Cleveland trading Bieber at this point. I don't see many trades happening at this point. The fact that Blake Snell is still there and NFL free agency is starting today is an issue in its own right, but he's still sitting right there and he's one of the better upgrades you can make. So I don't know what they do. There's still like 4 decent options out there to add to the rotation sitting in free agency and guys that would be innings eaters. Clevenger can give you some innings. Lorenzen, he's not great, but he can give you innings. I don't know if Cortez is going to give you innings right now. You know, like Cortez might be good for 4, but is he going to blow up in the 5th? You know, is Schmidt going to blow up in the 5th? Because he did that last year. He would have a good start and then kind of get blown up. So if a guy that can give you 6 innings a start is out there, you do that right now. And again, I just want this team to be as good as possible. Do I think they have to go sign Blake Snell? No. But do I want them to sign Blake Snell? Sure. You know, if it's Montgomery, fantastic. Go do it. I've been saying this the entire time. I'm not going to be like, I don't really have a preferred choice. I just want another starter. That's why I left my options open. I kept saying one of the Marlins guys or one of the Mariners guys, the free agents. The only person I'm saying absolutely no to is Trevor Bauer. And that's not because of the pitcher himself. It's because of the off the field shit that would come with it. He's the only one that I'm saying absolutely not. But anybody else, if they bring him in that can give you some innings at this point, you welcome it.
Yeah. It's the classic third time around the order issue that we have with Nestor Cortez and possibly a Clark Schmidt. I don't know if they have the stuff that can still be deceptive the third time around the order. And it's very noticeable. That's why the analytics very much point to bullpen moves happening by the 6th inning, etc. Because they don't want your pitcher to be exposed the third time around the order, and especially not with Nestor Cortez. He just doesn't have the pitches for it, man. He just doesn't. His location has to be fantastic to get outs, right? He needs to be superbly deceptive with his arm angles and his windups in order to get outs, because he just doesn't have the stuff to do it. His cutter's very average. His fastball's below average, right? I think that's all pretty much known around the majors, right? I'm not saying anything out of turn. What got him by before was the fact that he had the arm angles and he was keeping guys off balance, and he was excellent at doing that. To Uncle Tat's point, I don't see a Cortez being a Mike King, because he just doesn't have the stuff to do that. Mike King had excellent stuff. Like, he had legitimately like number 2, number 3 starter caliber stuff. And you put him in the bullpen, and that's why he was able to eat up innings and just blow guys away. In my opinion, I think we're seeing that from a Poteet. I think we could see that from a Poteet this year. I think Poteet, as I argued in Lynn's show yesterday, could be the Mike King of this year. He seems to have what we're looking for in terms of giving you innings and giving you quality innings at that. That's what I'm seeing early on. I don't see that from Nestor Cortez. I don't think he's got the stuff for that. I think he's either going to be a starter or he's going to be a long reliever. And I don't think there's going to be anything more than that with him. Clark Schmidt, now he does have the stuff that could give you quality innings out of the bullpen. because he does have much better fastball, much better stuff. But that's kind of a waste on him because I do think he's probably a fifth starter for the Yankees. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I really think we need another arm because it kind of gets a little bit more of a question for us here. There's also Ian Hamilton. That's a good point. Ian Hamilton could do that too. Nick Birdie, he has to make the team. His stuff is fantastic. Hit triple digits.
Birdie doesn't make the cut. That's criminal.
Yeah.
Nick Birdie's been impressive. No, look. I don't think there's anybody that's going to say, we don't need, we don't need any more pitching. And I think there's a divide between the fans of who that pitcher is. Some are saying, why not take a chance on Bauer? League minimum. There's no risk. If it doesn't work, you cut him. It costs you nothing. And then you have, I don't want him at all. I really don't. I teased it for a day. I didn't like the way he tasted. I'm not doing that. With Snell and Monty, with the free agents, it's just the money that's involved. Do you really want to tie into that? It's not so much the draft picks. I broke that. I'd be more concerned with the international money as far as signing those guys. And I know Monty's not attached to that because of the trade, but it's still a lot of money to put out there because you got to pay 110% above. That's a lot of money for pitchers that, we're not talking about, a 7-8 inning pitcher. We're talking 5-6 innings, which is not going to take the pressure off of your bullpen. And then the trade options are just too friggin' expensive on the prospect market. So it's almost like this is what we're going to have to roll with. And I still believe that this is a team that once everything starts to click, it's just going to take off, and we're going to be fine. Yes, are there concerns with Nestor and Schmidt? But we're not looking for them to be that 1-2 punch. They're that 4-5, in the rotation where if they have a 3-4 ERA, any team would take that for a fifth starter or even their fourth starter. So I don't think we're in that danger zone with the rotation that some narratives are being put out there for.
Here's my suggestion. We go to Jordan Montgomery, right? Now, the 110% tax is an issue, okay? That's why I think it takes us away from Blake Snell because he wants 30 plus. That's going to cost us $63 million, $65 million for a single year, right? My suggestion with Jordan Montgomery is we give you a 3-year deal with an opt-out after the second year, okay? And it's a player option. Now, what you do is say you give him 18 million year one, which would be this year, which would be about 36, around that range. Okay, just under 36, around about 36, maybe just under 40 for this single year. It's still high, but it's palatable. And then you defer the rest of the money into 2025. Okay, so Montgomery's still getting paid, and it's still going to be kind of high. It's still in the high 30s. What it would cost for us, but it's not going to be like 60 plus. I think it's palatable, and considering all the money that's coming off the books next year, then you move a lot of that money over for 2025, and it's kind of a win-win for both parties. That's the way I view it. I think you can sign Jordan Montgomery with a deal like that. What do you guys think?
I don't think the Yankees are that concerned with the money as much as the fans are. But again, every single person that's bringing up the money is either a reporter or a fan. The Yankees have not once said we're out of these free agents. They could have easily said we're not going to go pushing into free agency because of our luxury tax. They could have easily said that. They didn't. Hal Steinbrenner said it's going to be an expensive thing. Whoever we add is going to be an expensive add. He realizes where they are. I don't think the Yankees necessarily care as much this year, because they know how much is coming off the books next year. They're already over the tax. Why not just keep going over it for one more year? I know it's going to cost them a lot, but how many times have we talked about how much they're going to make this year? They're going to make a lot of money. If they sign Blake Snell, they're going to make even more money because they're going to sell out. People are going to come watch them. They're already selling out spring training games. to go watch these guys play for 2 innings. What do you think they're going to do to watch these guys play for 9? It's going to be a packed house every single week. The jersey sales, the t-shirt sales, the concessions, they're going to be rolling in money like they already are. So I don't think they're concerned about it as much as the fans are. However, it's an important thing to bring up because it's a lot of money. However, when your options, if you don't want to trade top prospects, you leave yourself to really one option, that's free agency. If they don't want to move Hampton or Warren or Jones or Arias, I completely understand that. I support it. I'm fine with that. Even though I personally would give away a Chase Hampton for Dylan Cease, I can understand the Yankees saying we don't want to do that. That's fine. That means they have a plan for the kid when he's ready. Great. But now your options are limited to just free agency or a lower end starter. So you might have to bite the bullet this year if you're that serious about winning this thing. And I think they are, knowing that there are still 2 very good pitchers still out there that you can get. And it's only going to cost you, one's only going to cost you money. The other one's going to cost you picks and international money as well. Maybe. And again, the whole thing with Montgomery, oh, he's still mad. He said it himself. He's not. There's no ill will. There's no bad feelings. The only people that are saying that that he has bad feelings towards the Yankees are reporters. Jordan Montgomery himself said there is no ill will. I don't have any negative feelings towards the Yankees for the trade. He said it himself. Cashman himself after the trade said he didn't want to do it. It was a tough trade to make. He didn't want to do it, but they had to get a center fielder. And they thought they had enough starters when they made the trade that they could move Montgomery. Look, it turned out to be whatever. But they had to make a move. They needed a center fielder desperately that year. Cashman didn't want to trade Montgomery, but he really didn't have a choice in that matter, right? Whatever. It's water under the bridge. If Montgomery himself said he doesn't really, it's not an issue, why does everyone keep saying it is? Why does everybody but him keep saying it is? He wants 7 years apparently. That's the thing. He still wants a big contract. That's probably why he's not signing anywhere. The only team that might take him right now is, I don't think I give him 7 years. So
No.
Exactly. So these guys are going to have to lower their years, and they're at this point probably lower the money they want for year 1. If they do sign a 3-year with an opt-out after 2, year 1's going to have to be less because they're probably not going to be ready or as ramped up by opening day as they would have been had they signed 2 weeks ago. So maybe it's prorated. Maybe you get a backloaded contract. I don't know, but yeah, Brad, the reporting has been terrible. It's been absolutely pitiful. Yeah. And I think it was Randy Miller, of course, who's like, Montgomery doesn't want to go back because he's still mad at the Yankees. And it's like, he never said that. Montgomery never said those words. So these reporters are just putting out fake nonsense to try to spin their own narrative. And it's really been annoying. But I think if the Yankees came calling to Montgomery and said, hey, would you take a 3-year deal to come back? You think he would say, you traded me 2 years ago. I don't like you guys anymore. No, I think he'd like to come back, and the Yankees would love to have him back. He's still got a ton of friends in that clubhouse. That'd make them even more happy to see their old buddy come back. Come on. You don't think the Yankees would, if Cashman was able to make amends with Stroman after the things that Stroman said about Cashman, they laughed it off. You don't think he'd be able to make amends with Monty real quick? Come on. Let's stop pushing that narrative for once. Please. It's been 2 years and they're still pushing the he hates the Yankee narrative. It's not true.
Yeah, I mean, if you offered him 25 mil per year, sorry, Tats, if you just offered him 25 mil per year, 24 and 2025, right? And you move, say, 7 million of that into 2025, where he's getting paid 18 million this year, and what would it be 32 million next year? It's a win-win for both sides. At the end of the day, the Yankees are still it's still obviously the tax could be high, but is more palatable, and you got yourself a legitimate starter. And he ends up making really good money in 2025. I don't see why he would turn that down. I think that's something that could make a lot of sense, in my opinion. And I also want to jump in the comment here from Frederick. Frederick, he says here, no way, no Hampton. But here's the thing. You got to give to get. And if you're no to Hampton, then who will you make available to for a trade to? You know, otherwise you have to go into the free agent market because, you know, you're looking at our options. You know, we don't want to trade Spencer Jones because he looks like he's incredible. Dominguez is absolutely off the board. There's no way you're trading him either. You don't want to trade Arias because Arias looks like he's going to be legitimately a star infielder, quite possibly in the near future. So that leaves Peraza But Perez is hurt. He's going to be hurt until June, July, right? So who are you going to trade now? That's why our options are limited now. And so that's why we have to think about possibly a Chase Hampton. If you don't want to trade Hampton, I completely understand, but that means you're going to have to go and get into free agency because you have to give to get. You're not going to get a Dylan Cease by giving up a bunch of our C prospects. You're not going to get it.
Yeah, like a lot of the people were saying like a couple of months ago, oh, give them Cabrera and Pereira and like Luis Heel or something. I'm just like, a lot of people are really not realizing the picture that Dylan Cease is. You know, the same people that want Trevor Bauer are trying to diminish what Dylan Cease has done in his career. So, I mean, Bauer has had one good season outside of the COVID year, and people are like, give him a shot. Who cares about the court stuff he has to deal with? Yeah, who cares about it? It's just only a serious allegation thrown his way. Who cares? It's a no-risk move. It's a huge risk. Dylan Cease is actually a less of a risk than Trevor Bauer. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's a much giving up prospects for Cease is a much less risk than signing Trevor Bauer is right now. I'm sorry, but that's just another conversation. You have to give to get, especially for 2 years of control in this market where pitchers are getting paid far more than they should be. Luis Severino had one of the worst seasons of all time last year, and he got $13 million. Sean Manaea was a bullpen arm. They gave him $14 million to go pitch out of the rotation. Lucas Giolito, who's going to be hurt, he signed for 19 and a half. He was bad. Dylan Cease is better than all those guys. He's making 10. 16. Yeah, Montas, and they're regretting that because he got lit up. So Dylan Cease is a lot better than a lot of people are giving him credit for, and he's making far less than what these other pitchers are. You'd have to give to get. And I trust the way the Yankees have been drafting and developing pitchers in the minor leagues that if we gave away Hampton today, somebody would be taking his spot in the next few months. Henry Lalane is a guy that could easily be a top 100 prospect next year. We have other kids that are coming up quickly. Brock Selvage is probably my favorite one of that group. He's going to be shooting up the system. I trust our prospects. I trust our minor league system to develop an arm because Chase Hampton, in a snap of a finger, was our best pitching prospect. We just drafted him in 2022, and already he's an untouchable. I should tell you how these guys are developing pitching. It's not that I don't like Hampton, but I want to win. And I've said this several times. I want to win more than anything. Hampton's not ready yet. Dylan Cease is. I know it's probably not going to happen, but that's just my own personal opinion. I would make the move. I would include him for Dylan Cease. Spencer Jones, no. At this point, I'd probably put him in untouchable as well. But Hampton, you had to bite the bullet there.
Frederick brings up Warren, but to me, if you're going to include Warren, right, you're going to have to add another maybe 4 B prospects in order to make that an enticing package. Because let's face it, it takes 2 to tango, right? And the White Sox have exactly the same analysis as the Yankees do. Hampton is a far better prospect than Warren, so why would they accept Warren to give up one of their very best pitchers? They're one of their top end starters. So so the way it's going to work would be if you gave up a Hampton, it would take less prospects along with a Hampton to make a deal work with Cease. But if you're going to take a lower rated prospect like Warren, is going to have to add more prospects to make that package work. So it's which way do you want it? Because at the end of the day, it takes 2 to tango. You can't just be like, oh, we'll give you one of our B prospects and you just have to suck it up and enjoy it. It's not going to work that way. You know, not with a quality arm like Dylan Cease.
Look, like I said, nobody's just saying, you know, we don't need pitching. Well, I've wanted Cease for a while now. You guys know that. I wanted him last year. You know, he's somebody that, you know, we're always saying there are players that we like on our team. We're like, you know, just move on from them. We wish them, like Severino's a good example, right? He didn't, you know, get a lot of vitriol from the fan base. He got rattled with injuries. But none of us is saying, you know, screw him. You know, I hope he fails. You know, he was a very likable Yankee. So we'll go, maybe a fresh change of scenery, you know, will help. Well, why can't that work in our favor? Maybe Cease just needs to be in a different organization with a different mindset where he could be successful. Because when the White Sox were good, so was he. So maybe he just needs that competitive edge to get his game back on track. Because Cease is a very good pitcher. He can give you the innings, and I think he would do very well in this organization. But as far as with the money is more the narrative from the fan base. You're not hearing the owners, you're not hearing Hal or Cashman saying, well, we're done spending money. Because the owner said we haven't seen pencils down, and they've been willing. They didn't offer Snell a contract if they weren't willing to absorb the risk of the 110%. He was willing to take the risk of losing the draft picks. He was willing to absorb the risk of the international money to make the team better this year. It's the money narrative is our narrative as fans. That's not the mindset of the organization.
And also, you got to choose who do you believe from these reporters? Do you believe Feinsand, who said there's a second offer, or do you believe? Yeah, I don't believe any of them at this point, but because until Passan says something, but he's been eerily quiet about this whole thing. The last thing he said was, "I think it's Yankees and Angels." So why would he put the Yankees in there unless there was a second offer? That's what I've been saying for at least a month now. And again, this is far too long if they're still sitting in free agency. That's another topic. It's an absolute joke that they're still out there. But until I see Passan or Rosenthal, even Jack Curry, while he's shooting it down, is still never really saying it's never going to happen. He keeps saying it's unlikely, but that's kind of like, oh, there's still a little bit of a chance. Again, anything can happen. He kept saying one phone call could change anything. If the Yankees make a call today, or if Boris makes a call to them today, a lot can happen in these next few hours. Maybe he's in the process of signing somewhere now. More likely he's going to go to LA. I don't know why he wants to be an Angel so bad, but do you believe Olney? Do you believe Clappish? Do you believe Randy Miller? If you do, go get yourself checked into a mental asylum. But you don't know what reporter to believe because they've been terrible this year. I don't know. It's been a really bad offseason for Major League Baseball. I'll just say that. It's been a really bad offseason. I mean, we've had a generational player get traded. We had one of the craziest players we've ever seen get $700 million, probably one of the best international players come over. And yet three of the top 10 free agents are still unsigned, and it's March 10th. Are we kidding? The NFL season the NFL league year is kicking off, and 3 of the top 10 MLB free agents are still unsigned. That's an issue, baseball. That's an issue, Manfred. Fix it.
Yeah, the Dodgers swallowed up the 2 best free agents, and then the next 2 best free agents are sitting unemployed. Not a good look for Major League Baseball. There has to be something done. I would love the MLB Players Union to admit that there's an issue, look around their selfish needs, look above their selfish needs, and come together with baseball and trying to come together and make these off seasons better, because it's elongated and it's just not working. You can't have a situation like that. You want some sense of excitement, in my opinion. You know what I mean? You want some sense of excitement. Like NFL fans right now are going to be excited because today they're going to be checking their Twitter accounts every 2 minutes to find out which team, what their team's going to do in free agency. That's just what's going to happen. That doesn't exist in baseball. It happens in the NBA. There has to be a way in which you can add some excitement, and also you want more free agent moving around. You want some free agents to maybe go to other teams and things like that. It doesn't happen in baseball. They're all going to go to the Dodgers. And if not the Dodgers, then maybe the Mets or Yankees. Well, not the Mets, the Yankees.
Look, this is a huge problem that we've been talking about all off season. We've had these discussions in the past where these agents, the agents, the GMs, the players, nobody's talking to anybody. I think the issue at this stage is more the years than the money. If you were able to, if Snell would say, or say Snell and Monty, say they both said, you know what, rather than 7 or 9 years, we'll take 5. I think teams would jump on that. But you're also looking at the age of these pitchers. This is most likely going to be their last chance to get a good deal. Because if they have to go back into free agency in 3-4 years at 35, who's going to give them another contract? Nobody. So I think that that's the other problem is the fact that these guys reach free agency too late in life, too late in their career. So this is something that baseball, in cooperation with the union, with agents, they really need to collaborate and come up with a better system, because the system they have now, we're seeing the result of it. It sucks. It flat out sucks. The only people that are losing, and I don't care. Yes, they're making generational wealth. I get that. All right, but you have athletes that are just driven to be competitive. They want to compete. They want to showcase their abilities. They can't even find a team to even give them the opportunity to play, because the system got so out of control that teams are just saying, you know what, I'm not putting it up anymore. I'm not paying exuberant amount of money for exuberant amount of years for a player that I might get 4 out of. So I think that this is something that is going to really come to a head, and it's going to be very ugly come the next CBA.
Brad, spot on. I mean, listen, and I know that the players' union will argue, well, there's never been a cap in baseball, and there's never been a deadline in baseball and stuff like that. Heck, if we could make a game that's been going on for 100+ years that never had any clock to it, add a pitch clock, I think you could add a deadline for signings, right? So if you could put a game together where there's never been a clock, there's never been any kind of question that goes on for 3-4 hours with ease, right? But if you put a clock to that for a game that's been going on for 100+ years, you can add a deadline for players to sign up before the end of spring training. I mean, come on, like, it's not a big deal, and a trade deadline makes all the sense in the world, and a trade window as well. You could open it up and reopen it at a certain stage. You could have a trade window all the way up until the end of spring training, and then reopen it for July, and then you have until the end of July to make the trades that you need, and then that's it. Like, you can do that. There's other sports that do that stuff. There's ways in which you can make it interesting, exciting, and I think it would be beneficial to the players, because there's players right now that don't know where they're going to be. Right? And so if there's an idea of, right, I'm going to be here for this extended period of time, it'll be beneficial to them. They just need to be a little bit less selfish from both sides, right? You're going to get paid. It's going to happen. So let's just make the product better.
Yep. That's the only way to do it, and I've said it. I'm not worried about a salary cap. I'm worried about it. They have to implement a salary floor. I've gone through it. We've gone over what I would do to change things. There's so many cracks in the foundation of this game. It's really becoming depressing, because here we are. We should be every player, every owner, every manager, every fan, every stadium employee should be embracing the fact that baseball is about to start in a couple of weeks, and there is still all this chaos when it comes to the free agent market. There's all this, this bullshit of this revenue stream, the revenue sharing, where now it's to the point where teams don't want to go over, because why am I going to spend the money to put in your pocket if you're not going to invest it back into making sure? Look, the owners agreed for this revenue sharing to level off the playing field. It's not leveling off at all. And that's a big problem. It's been a problem forever. Ever since the worst thing that they did, there were 2 things that started the ball rolling with baseball being wrecked. One, the qualifying offer. I hated it from the beginning. I thought it was stupid. It made no sense. If they don't want to sign with you, they shouldn't sign with you. And you can't penalize a team because they wanted to retain a player. Okay? it just makes no the whole system for the qualifying offer makes zero sense. I understand that if you lose your player, you want some reimbursement for that. Well, then don't lose your player. Negotiate with them. Keep him.
Mm-hmm.
Give him the extension. Buy out his arbitration. There's no reason to have a qualifying offer with those type of penalties. It's dumb. And the other thing has been the revenue sharing. There was no stipulations for the revenue sharing of where that money can go. That's the other thing that needs to stop.
What
I
about
don't mind
teams being?
spending the extra money. I wouldn't mind spending the extra money if my money was going to something positive, like another player's salary, not to fill the pockets of these already billionaire owners.
What about teams being penalized for spending? That I find is the stupidest. You know, so if someone who rejects someone who rejects the qualifying offer, if you were to sign them, that costs you international money and draft picks in order to sign them. I find that stupid. I think you should be penalized for not spending. In my opinion, if you want a competitive league, you know there should be a penalization if you don't spend at all. Yeah. So that's why you're not seeing a Blake Snell and Montgomery signing to some extent, because there's a lot of teams that are going, well, I don't want to sign them right now because it's going to cost me international money and draft picks, which I can't afford to lose because I am not a major market. You know that's true. So you should never be penalized for spending. Like I find that stupid. I'm saying the general you. I'm not saying you, Tat, because I know you agree with me. It's just so dumb. I've never agreed with being penalized for spending money. That should be what it's all about. Spend money to get better. Mm-hmm. Spend money for your fans. Spend money for your organization in order to compete. That's what it should always be about, right? And it's not me being a selfish Yankee fan because I know that Yankees have money to spend. I want teams to spend. I want smaller teams to go, you know what? I'm going to go for it this year. But they're being penalized if they go and maybe break the bank to get a Blake Snell because it's going to cost them international money and draft picks. I think that's the dumbest idea in the world.
Yep. Yeah, and Diver, my minimum would be $100 million. You're telling me on a 40-man roster you can't reach $100 million in your payroll? Come on now. That's you're talking easily 4 players at $25 million a year. There you go. You already reached your minimum. You can do whatever the hell else you want, but you have to. You cannot. You can. The amount of teams that don't even reach that $100 million, it's one too many. There should not be one team under that salary. With the revenue sharing, I've said it. We actually amended it with your idea, Donald. 75% goes towards the players' salaries, and 25% goes towards the stadium operation. Put it into the payroll of your stadium employees. Give the money to them.
Yeah.
The ticket takers, the vendors. Invest in them.
And invest in your analytics. Invest in your analytics. Invest in your scouting team and make your team better. That 25% should go into the upkeep of not just your stadium, but also the behind the scenes, improving your scouting network and your and your analytics team and your staff. Make sure they're all well compensated. That makes baseball much more be much better parity around the league that way. And then 75% should go to player salary and taking on money and signing in free agency, etc. It's all no-brainer stuff.
That is good. We're going to end it on that note. So, but we have enjoyed everybody in the discussion. You guys are the best. Last I checked, we are now 4 away from 600. So keep pushing us out there. Let's get to that 600 mark. And we will be back Wednesday, 10 a.m. So on behalf of all of us, hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out with your friends, your family, the stranger around the corner. And this has been the Pinstripe Chronicles. As I always say, we pinch your pride and play hard.